Zadie Boulay, and I hope you've had a wonderful day as well as a peaceful and productive week. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being a subscriber or a viewer of my channel. I am getting an idea of what you like, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you would like for me to talk about on this channel. Some of you have let me know what you would like me to do to follow up on certain videos, and I certainly intend to do that. But I just want you to know that I appreciate very much the support that you're giving me. Today's discussion is about politics. We, African Americans, didn't just become politically involved a few years ago or even 50 years ago. We have always been politically active, even during the slavery days when they couldn't vote and people thought they didn't know anything. They still knew what was going on. When you read slave narratives, you can tell that they were savvy, they were intelligent, they knew what was going on, and they knew who was on the right side and who was on the wrong side. So we have always been politically aware, politically involved, and to some extent politically active. Today, with African Americans being loyal to the Democratic Party almost to a fault, it will probably come as a surprise to some that the first black members of the United States Congress were Republicans. So the title of the video is Why the First Black Members of the United States Congress Were Republicans. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States outlawed slavery. The 14th Amendment gave them citizenship and equal protection under the law, and the 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. I placed emphasis on black men because black women were not given the right to vote. Neither could white women vote, so voting was a privilege for men. So in February of 1870, the 15th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, conferring full citizenship upon black men by giving them the right to vote. On the screen is a picture of the first black members of the United States Congress, and they are a handsome and portly group of men. As you can see in the picture, in 1870, 2 black men were elected to the United States Congress, 1 senator from Mississippi and 1 House of Representative member from South Carolina. By 1871, a total of 7 black men were serving in the United States Congress. Slavery ended in 1865, but by 1871, they were already in the Congress serving as elected officials. That lets us know that politically they hit the ground running right after slavery ended. In 1870, the Mississippi State Legislature appointed Hiram Revels to the United States Senate to fulfill the vacancy left by Jefferson Davis, who had gone off to become president of the Confederacy. Hiram Revels is said to have worked quietly and persistently, and he was praised for his oratorical abilities. Benjamin Turner was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing the 1st Congressional District in Selma, Alabama. He only served 1 term, complaining that the Republicans in his district did not support him, even though he was voting for the restoration of political and legal rights for Confederate soldiers. It's also interesting that in 1870, the U.S. Census said he was worth $10,000. That's $200,774.05 in today's market. Not bad for a former slave. Robert Carlos DeLarge was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing the 2nd District of South Carolina. He only served 1 term. He was unseated in 1873 due to alleged abuses and irregularities. Josiah T. Walls was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing Florida's 2nd Congressional District. He served a total of 6 years, that's 3 terms, and that was a success for those early African American congressmen. After leaving Congress, he became the farm director at what is now Florida A&M University. Jefferson F. Long was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing Georgia's 4th Congressional District. He served only 1 term due to the undermining efforts of the Georgia Republican Party. That's the claim, and it's not hard to believe. After his congressional term, he returned to his tailoring business in Macon, Georgia. Joseph H. Rainey was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. He served a total of 8 years, that's 4 terms, and that is excellent. After leaving Congress, he was appointed a federal agent of the U.S. Treasury Department for the Internal Revenue in South Carolina. Robert Brown Elliott was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870, representing South Carolina's 3rd Congressional District. He served a total of 4 years, that's 2 terms. He resigned from Congress in 1874, went back to South Carolina to work in state politics. Interestingly enough, when he was in the United States House of Representatives, he was described as the first genuine African in Congress, as the rest of them were mixed race. He was born and educated in England and was apparently very intelligent, but he chose to come to the United States as a young man to live out his life. So this is the class of 1870. At least 4 of them were born into slavery, and all of them were Republicans. The question is why? They were Republicans for personal and practical reasons. The Republican Party was formed as an anti-slavery party. Ending slavery would affect all of them in some way. The Republicans' platform was also to reduce taxes and to promote private business enterprise. They wanted the little guy to be able to create his own business opportunities, and the Republican Party recognized the sovereignty of states. They didn't think that the federal government should be able to overreach into state politics or state government. All of these things would have potentially benefited the former slaves, now called freedmen. So these were some very good reasons for these men to be Republicans. The Republican Party had also voted to bestow citizenship upon the former slaves, giving them equal protection under the law, and they also voted to give black men the right to vote. There was also the matter of climate. The Southern Democrats had beat the drum for war ever since Abraham Lincoln was elected president. They wanted to go to war. They wanted to go to war. They wanted to go to war. Well, they went to war, and they lost. The Southern economy was in shambles. Most of them lost everything they had, and they were angry. They were angry because the people who had held the economy up for over 200 years, the enslaved people, were now free. They were citizens and they were voting. And the Democrats were furious. It would make no sense for an African American to be a Democrat at this time. And to show just how angry they were, we can see how the votes went for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution ended slavery. Republicans voted 100% to end slavery. Democrats voted 23% to end slavery. That means that 77% of them voted not to end slavery. The 14th Amendment granted the former slaves American citizenship, due process, and equal protection under the law. The Republicans voted 94% to grant them citizenship, due process, and equal protection under the law. The Democrats voted 0% to grant those things. Not a single Democrat voted to give them citizenship, due process, or equal protection under the law. The 15th Amendment granted black men the right to vote. Republicans voted 100% to grant black men this right. Democrats voted 0%, which means they would deny black men the right to vote, they would deny African American people their citizenship, and they would deny them their freedom. So the Democratic Party was an enemy to African American people in those days. The time 1865 until 1877 was called Reconstruction. This was a time of hope for black people. Black men were voting, they were building businesses, they were colleges, these land-grant colleges and private institutions were being built. Black people were building churches and schools, and it really seemed that we were on an economic path for growth. This period of time lasted for 12 years. 12 years when we had an opportunity to sort of glimpse the American dream right after slavery, before Reconstruction ended. As African Americans were trying to normalize their lives, getting an education, building homes, businesses, colleges, churches, just trying to live their lives as American citizens, the Confederates were enraged. They regained control of the Southern governments and passed the Black Code laws. These laws were designed to strip them of their freedom, their citizenship, and their right to vote. The Ku Klux Klan was formed to intimidate African Americans. Their homes were burned, they were flogged, they were lynched. Nothing was too bad to be done to the former slaves. Then came the election of 1876, and that sounded the death knell for any hope that African Americans had of becoming full-fledged American citizens. Rutherford B. Hayes was the Republicans' nominee for president. Samuel Tilden was the Democrats' nominee for president. At the end of the election, there was a tie. Each one of them had 269 electoral college votes, so they had to make a decision about who was going to be president. So a compromise was made, and this compromise was called the Compromise of 1877. A deal was cut. The Republicans wanted to be president, and the Democrats wanted control of the South again, meaning they wanted control of black people again. So they cut a deal. The Democrats agreed that Rutherford B. Hayes could be president on these conditions. Number one, the removal of all remaining United States military forces from the South, including Louisiana, South Carolina, and Florida. Number two, they wanted at least one Southern Democrat in Hayes' cabinet. Number three, they wanted the construction of another transcontinental railroad using the Texas and the Pacific in the South. Number four, they wanted legislation to help industrialize the South and restore its economy. And number five, and this is what they really wanted, the right to deal with black people without Northern interference. The Republicans agreed to the Democrats' terms. Rutherford B. Hayes became the president. All of the federal troops had been in the South that had protecting black people since slavery ended were removed from the South, and it was open season on black people. Jim Crow laws were passed, and black people went back into slavery for another 90 years. Despite their effort, their education, and their desire to be involved in American politics, these first black congressmen made very little impact in the end. By 1901, they had run all of them out of there. The last one to leave made a speech on the floor in which he said, "We'll be back." They're back. It took 28 years for them to get back, but they're back, and back in large numbers, both Democrat and Republican. So, they kept their word.